We've got bad news. Apparently, Olivia Cockburn wants to direct a DC movie. She's threatening us once again with more movies that we have to watch.
She thinks no one remembers that her name was Olivia Cockburn.
We
know.
So it says, guys, Olivia Wilde may direct a movie for the newly formed DC Studios. DC Studios being the new umbrella under which Peter Safran and James Gunn are now running DC Films. By the way, they've rebranded it. It is no longer the DCEU. It is now just the DCU.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, it was never actually
according
called,
to James Gunn?
It was just in
who made that decision.
Also, it was never actually the DCEU. It just got called that early on and then just stuck forever. But they never
because
actually
it was like
to
derivative of the multiverse.
The DC Extended Universe. So it says Olivia Wilde is currently in negotiations with Warner Brothers Discovery to direct a movie, according to our trusted and proven sources. They were right about
that's such an inside joke to say like that.
They were right about the Guy Gardner and the Green Lantern thing. So maybe they do have trusted and accurate sources.
They found that after Don't Worry Darling was such an unprecedented box office smash at $83 million, that she deserves another chance at directing.
Yep.
And this time it's going to be adding a new flavor, a new little spice.
Let me guess, it's going to be about woman.
I mean, this is actually not news, I found out, because I looked at an article from back in August 2020 where she was tapped for a Marvel film. And it was, all that was known at the time was that it was female centered. Yeah. And
somebody will get their powers from an alien tampon.
She hinted that it was about Spider-Woman, but maybe that's been scrapped, and then she's, getting shopped around back to DC. I have no idea what kind of burning pile of dung would come out of Olivia Wilde directing a superhero film, because you just add her toxic feminism in with the social capital that exists in messaging superhero films right now. Add those together and you just get like a train wreck.
So it's, however, despite the negative press around the movie, it's all the press. So if they're going to advertise this movie, that's where all of the attention will come from, because it won't come from her directing abilities.
I mean, her first try at Booksmart, it was reviewed well by critics, but only critics, and it made no money.
Yeah.
It was a flop.
I could see James Gunn wanting to do something like this. I actually could. I don't know if it's the right decision, because I don't think that she would be able to make a movie that would actually be fun. Like I said,
she's such a privileged twat.
Yes.
Like when she was tapped for that Marvel deal, I don't think that that's still in the works.
No.
We haven't heard anything about it since. But when that happened, the justification at the time was she had this amazing directorial debut with Booksmart that everyone loved. And the reality was it didn't make its money back. And pompous, elitist critics happened to like that it had queer representation and it, fit their indie sensibilities. So she was just propelled into Marvel Studios after a complete flop as her first try. And then she was given a whole second chance with Don't Worry Darling. Don't Worry Darling, I haven't watched. I don't know if it's actually good. I will never know because I'm never watching it. But on her second chance, she also sabotages press for it because she knows that it can't succeed on its own merits. And then again, she is propelled into a bigger job.
Feminists and people with privileged identity characteristics always fail upwards. I do like that she was in Richard Jewell. I'm trying to picture her. Like, I would love to see a video of like somebody filming with their phone of her like listening to Clint Eastwood talk about the world. Like, I imagine her just being appalled at his, like, how he sees the world.
We already made up a scenario in our heads where she walks past Florence Pugh's dressing room on the set for Don't Worry Darling, and here's Florence Pugh listening to a Jordan Peterson video.
Oh my God.
And is just absolutely aghast.
That's my new favorite conspiracy theory, is that Florence
Pugh
Pugh
is a secret Jordan Peterson stan. It's all but confirmed.
She got got a Daily Wire Plus subscription just to listen to new.
We
Jordan
should
Peterson
reach out
content.
to Florence Pugh's reps for comment and update you guys on that.
So
I saw this tweet, by the way, that said Olivia Cockburn was raised by two leftist elitist journalists in an expensive area in D.C. attending a tiny boarding school. Cockburn abused her powers as a director, abandoned her children, and couldn't direct a movie. She hates masculine men and middle to lower class people. So, can't confirm all the details there, but I don't think she would be able to make a movie that anyone finds relatable.
Yeah.
Like, even Don't Worry, Darling was, sort of, it was disturbing, treacherous walk into her mind where misogyny runs the world and we still live in a patriarchal dystopia.
Well, they don't understand that we live in a matriarchal society or a gynocentric society here in America, and then
we'd be in a better position if we were in a matriarchy than whatever the hell is going on right now.
But guys, it's not all bad news, because we did find out that Henry Cavill as Superman is signed on for at least 3 films, which is Man of Steel 2, that appears to be Man of Steel 2, Justice League 2, and Black Adam 2. One of which, Man of Steel 2, looks like it will be possibly helmed by James Gunn himself. It will be very interesting, in my opinion, to see how that movie fares tonally, given the extremely distinctly different styles of directing that both James Gunn and Zack Snyder possess. I do actually think that if they wanted to make a movie with heart, that James Gunn is somebody that could pull that off, but I don't think his sense of humor is one that really works in the Superman world.
It's not just his sense of humor, but also I think James Gunn went for the Suicide Squad because it was lower stakes than a Man of Steel. Like, if he's not grappling with like doing justice to an A-lister character like Superman, then he has more freedom. He has more creative freedom. And also with humor.
Yep.
Also, take the reins there.
In Peacemaker, like he makes sure like the character of Peacemaker dresses down he makes fun of all of this major superheroes in all the episodes. Like, I don't remember what it was, but he has a really funny burn on Superman. Like, he makes fun of Batman, Superman, and Aquaman. The Aquaman one I always remember because he talks about how Aquaman has sex with fish. And that's like that's his he's like, I heard it, and then he's like, where? It's like on Reddit or it's like or something
not
like that.
Not a huge fan of James Gunn's sense of humor, not gonna lie.
Very hit and miss.
I think it's just annoying how I don't mean this as like a personal attack at James Gunn anyway, but like, it's annoying that there's a double standard where he can make all of those messed up jokes about kids, and that like him getting fired after that at the drop of a hat, by the way, was considered cancel culture. But then people who have done far lesser offenses or jokes about other topics that are deemed even more taboo are then they're not given the same redemption arc he has been given.
He was never actually even canceled. I don't believe for a second that Disney actually ended playing.
They overreacted.
No, I don't. I believe they did that. That's what they do now. So they fired him. He immediately goes and makes a DC movie. It's not like DC even waited to hire him after that. But I think that Marvel always planned to bring him back to do Guardians of the Galaxy 3. They just made the performative gesture.
But he also was like, this is the last one I'm doing. Like, this is the last Guardians of the Galaxy.
He's extremely close He's extremely close with the whole cast on that. Like, that's like Dave Bautista, like liberal, annoying politics as he may be. Like, they're like ride or die people. They're like, if he doesn't do this movie, I'm not doing this. Like, you know,
I feel like those type of bonds in Hollywood are so obnoxious.
Yeah. So
like, especially when it's an A-list actor and an A-list director, a Brad Pitt and a Quentin Tarantino, or like we were saying, a Christian Bale and a David O. Russell. And like, they're just so obnoxious with their loyalty to each other.
I do want to read a couple of these quotes from Henry Cavill, who was on a podcast recently. So he says, I went to Warner Brothers studio in the UK and got back in the suit. It was a very powerful moment for me. I wasn't sure how I would feel, whether it would be something very emotionally connective, because I put the Man of Steel suit back on. I chose that one in particular because of the nostalgia attached to the suit. It was important for me to be standing there and enjoying the moment. That is one of the top moments in my career. It feels great to have the opportunity to wear it again. Every time I hear another celebrity talk about these characters, they talk about them in this way that sounds so fake, as if it's just you don't believe that they actually cared about the character, or they care about their interpretation of the character, right? Like we're changing this character for modern times. I'm looking for this character to be an inspiration to one small subsect of people, whereas he just loves the character. He just wants to represent the character. He says, There's such a bright future ahead for the character. I'm so excited to tell a story with an enormously joyful Superman. I like it.
He's a sweet guy.
He is.
But also, I have to openly oppose him getting casted as James Bond.
Yes, that is in the news too. We have that here.
You know, call me bigoted against the British people, but he just, if the motto matters to you, Brett, like you say it does, then the nationality of the person playing Superman also matters.
I wouldn't care. Okay, no, let me rephrase that. No, I'm not going to rephrase that. If a British writer writes for a Superman comic, I don't care that he's British. It's not about the nationality of the person writing the character. It's about instilling the values and talking about what the original message was. The message is widespread. The writer, that doesn't matter to me. As long as he's not talking in a British accent. If he was talking in a British accent, that would be weird.
Pulling into Ana de Armas on the Superman flick.
Yeah. I don't care if the writer is, we would have to then look at the people who wrote the movie. Are the people that wrote the movie American? Like, that's not the point.
I'm just saying,
here.
if they're not, then there's no reason that they should care about, keeping the motto and what Superman maybe embodied as like
as long as he's
an
representing
of our nation, right?
As long as he's not being played as British on screen, that doesn't matter to me. Just like I don't care if a straight person plays a gay character, or a gay actor plays a straight character. That doesn't bother me, as long as they're portraying the character they're supposed to portray on screen. But he is saying that he would still like to play Superman or to play James Bond, and Mary's like, no. Stop it.
If anything, it's really just about the impression that people carry from watching him in the role of Superman, and they carry that impression over to watching him as James Bond, hypothetically.
Yeah.
Like you can't really separate him from two characters that are that iconic. That are that huge.
There's some actors
that have their own franchises.
Yeah. I mean,
I wouldn't be able to separate that in my mind just because he's speaking in a different accent.
It's like a lot of actors have played superheroes for both. Ryan Reynolds played Green Lantern in DC and then went on to play Deadpool. Like a lot of them, don't
know how I feel about that either. I don't like the crossover of like Marvel and DC
Chris
actors
Evans,
and actresses.
Chris Evans played Johnny Storm in Fantastic Four, and then played obviously Captain America.
There should be more of a sense that the studio owns you if it's a superhero film.
Forever? No,
I mean, I don't like. I don't know, something about it seems wrong. Like crossing over the same. Bring in new people, or bring in old faces that like
Hugh Jackman.
They're constantly bringing in like big names. Like
most of them.
Bill Murray is one of them. Harrison Ford is one of them.
And so you would bother
Catherine Langford. It
bothers you because of the Truth, Justice, and the American Way one, but a lot of the actors that play superheroes are British. So, I mean, Tom Holland
that's a smaller point for me than just the fact that audience members will not be able to like
tell them apart.
Not just tell them apart, but it's like the feeling you get when you watch Henry Cavill on screen is going to be whatever you saw him as first, right?
Okay.
So if he starts off as Superman and then gets casted as James Bond and he keeps that role for 10 to 12 years, I don't see people being able to, at least myself, being able to like separate the tone.
Yeah.
Right? And it's also a completely different type of character.
But that's why it doesn't bother me, because they're not in the same sphere. But
yeah, but that's why the tone doesn't feel Right. I don't think Henry Cavill could do both excellently.
If the director, the set designer, the script writer, and everybody else involved in that project are doing their job properly, and the actor is able to portray
they
more
rarely
than
are.
And the actor is able to portray a character more than one dimension. As long as you're not Ryan Reynolds and you're just playing Ryan Reynolds in everything that you're in, I don't have a problem with an actor taking on more than one iconic character. But there is a question to be asked, right? Like, there's a lot of great actors out there. Why wouldn't you just cast somebody else? But there's
Hollywood has their favorites right now. I think as actors age, they're going to have a crisis of casting.
There's also the matter of star power. James Bond doesn't need a big name actor. Daniel Craig was not a huge actor. I mean, he was famous, but he was not the level of fame that he is now when he took over the role of James Bond. I guess Pierce Brosnan had already been Remington Steele when he took over for James Bond. But in general, that character name, those characters carry such value that they don't need a big star. But I'm also sick of actors with no public profile using it as their stepping stone to become activists and use the character as a platform. So maybe you should hire actors of a certain caliber so that they don't. The Rock is Black Adam because he does not need to make it about himself because he's already a big deal.
That's a dilemma for sure. Like, I do see in the next decade or two that there's going to be a shortage of easily recognizable A-lister box office hit type of actors, and the new ones that they're going to bring in, other than a Tom Holland or a Timothée Chalamet, I don't see a new class of A-listers rising up right now or getting the chance.
It's because they're all being.
I don't know if they deserve one, but like.
Well, it's because they're coming up in the age of streaming, where there's less stakes and they're not.
Also, like on the Green Lantern thing.
Oh yeah,
people are saying that Green Lantern should have never been put on streaming to begin with, like pitched as a streaming service.
It does feel
show
like a movie.
or movie at all, because just by the fact that you have to do sets both in space and on Earth, in order to do that well in a way that looks good,
it's going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah,
and 8 episodes of that. Okay,
which are already scripted, which have just been completely scrapped after 3 years.
$200 million for a 2.5-hour movie goes a lot farther than $120 million for 8 one-hour mini movies.
Yeah.
The budget isn't there. So, guys, they canceled the Guy Gardner and Alan Scott Green Lantern that they were going to do, and they are going to do what they should have done a decade ago, which is do the version that. The not the Hal Jordan one. They're going to do the what's his name? John Stewart. I'm sorry, John. I was reading an article about the other John Stewart today. So they're going to do John Stewart, which they should have been doing a decade ago. They should have done that before they even did Hal Jordan in the Ryan Reynolds movie back in like 2011. Mm-hmm. The John Stewart Green Lantern is the main Green Lantern in the DC animated universe and is very, very highly regarded. People love that version of that character. So there was no reason to do Hal Jordan. I'm not a huge... Like, I know a lot of people, there's a lot of fans of the New 52 series, but it just wasn't a Ryan Reynolds character anyways. So I don't know who they're going to cast. There was a rumor at one point that they were going to have David Ramsey portray him because David Ramsey got like the lantern ring in the Arrowverse. He played John Diggle, and I think that they were going to use an alternate version of him to play him in that world, but then they weren't going to put him on TV.
There's a lot of talk about finding masculine black male leads in not just superhero films, but like all films right now, because a lot of people think that that's sorely lacking.
Yeah. Who's the guy in that's going to be in Creed 3?
I don't know. But
the guy with Michael B. Jordan, Creed 3, that dude is just absolutely just jacked right now.
Mm-hmm. The conversation right now is kicked off mainly
Jonathan
because
Majors
of Wakanda Forever and the fact that they didn't recast T'Challa after Chadwick Boseman's death.
Yeah.
And it sort of crept into the conversation about John Stewart, Green Lantern, because some people are finally like, yes, we deserve black male leads and not just like these sexuality identity things getting amplified way more than basic inclusion.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it. Because I'm not invested in Black Panther or Green Lantern as franchises. But people were also worried that the original, the gay Green Lantern series was going to have woke themes as well. They were afraid that Alan Scott's sexuality was going to be way overemphasized in the plot, that Guy Gardner was going to be this like misogynistic, evil white man who is like patriarchal and oppressive. And people saw, I didn't find these audition videos, but there were audition videos that got leaked for this series for Alan Scott and for Bree Jarda, the character of Bree Jarda. And the dialogue in those was criticized a lot for being very on the nose. There were mentions of like, Bree Jarda is like half alien, half human, and her human skin is black, so she was not like served by people at a restaurant. And then there was like talk of seeing a Confederate flag there. It's just very bizarre and doesn't really fit into a sci-fi like tone anyway.
Because they don't want to do sci-fi. They want to make slice of life stories, but sci-fi is how you influence the public.
Exactly. So there were these audition videos. They're now taken down from Vimeo. I don't know if they're anywhere else on the internet anymore. They got criticized a lot when they were leaked. A lot of people were saying they hope the same actors are kept for the side characters. But I saw a suggestion that they get Glenn, what is his name? The guy who played Hangman in Maverick.
Oh, Glenn, not Miles Teller?
No.
I don't know his name. Miles Teller's...
Wait, no. It's not Miles Teller. It's Glenn something. He played Hangman.
Okay, but Miles Teller's the only one that I remember from, other than the main cast.
Hangman was a good actor, but they want him to play Guy Gardner. Okay. And I just think, oh, of course, you're going to repeat the Hangman character because he's chauvinistic and put him into that role and make him the same chauvinistic jackass character.
Yep.
Like, there's no dimension to it at all.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't have high hopes for it, but I'm glad that they have rethought the direction of this show. And I think the more based Zaslav strikes things out, replaces them for more lucrative ideas.
We're still getting Blue Beetle next year, so we'll see how that goes. There's a lot going on. It'll take a long time for this to get made, I'm guessing, given the sets.
Because they have to restart literally everything, and they lost a writer.
What was the story, chat, where Green Arrow and Green Lantern basically back in like the 70s, they go across America and deal with social ills? And it's like Green Lantern is like the stoic kind of like it is what it is, and Green Lantern and Green Arrow is like basically the social justice guy. That's the one where Red Arrow, where Roy Harper or whatever gets addicted to heroin, and then he basically gets left behind. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Is that based on older comics?
Yeah, before my time, but that's a very famous run.
The HBO Max description of the original, the scrapped show, said that Green Lantern, this would depict the Earth's first Green Lantern, who, true to the comics, is a gay man. I think that's a really misleading wording because you didn't mention which comics.
Yeah.
The comics that introduced Green Lantern as gay came out in 2011.
Not 1960 or whatever.
Yeah, the 70 years before that when the character was originally created. Mm. It's just such a misleading weasel word game they play.
Yeah.
I really hate it.
Yeah. So we'll see where it comes. It'll be interesting, but I'm actually like Zaslav continues to impress me with his ability to just be like, here, bad projects, kick rocks, get rid of them. They don't need to make the stuff that's not going to make money, but it is extremely interesting to me how long it's taken for them to make Green Lantern work. Green Lantern is one of those characters that feels like it should not take them any effort other than budgetary reasons for
overthinking it because they're looking for ways to insert social messaging. That's all. And the pressure that comes from people with Twitter fingers, like literal Twitter addicts. Here's one snarker on Twitter. The DC series focusing on a gay superhero was scrapped after 3 years of development and a full season of scripts were written so that it can now focus on a completely different character.
Notice how they didn't mention the race of the character.
They didn't mention that this character is black. Somebody explain to me how this is not what it looks like. Excuse me, what does it look like? Please elaborate on what it looks like.
They're like
do you think this looks like homophobia?
I'm picturing like they're
Seriously?
in a meeting. They're in a meeting and they're like, and Zaslav's like, and cut this one and make the Hal Jordan one. They're like, whoa, we can't cut it and do the straight white dude. We can cut it and do Jon Stewart, but we cannot cut it and do Hal Jordan.
I mean, it's fine if you cast a straight white dude as long as it's Guy Gardner and he can be the foil that everyone hates.
Yeah.
That's all.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.